Good evening.
Hello. We all tend to become pessimistic sometimes about the future with the state of the economy, the nuclear threat. But could we really be on the eve of destruction? Some people think so, and they're preparing themselves for the total chaos they say could erupt. One such survival group is based here in Chicago. It's called Live Free. One recent fall morning, a group of people gathered in the woods to prepare for the day after Doomsday.
I think the quote that I can explain it the best is it wasn't raining when Noah built the ark.
There's really no ark being built here, just skills and self-confidence, they say. The group is called Live Free Incorporated. Its members call themselves Survivalists because they intend to survive whatever catastrophe comes. They have no more proof than anybody else, just a feeling that society as we know it is headed for a fall, that there may be riots in the streets between the haves and the have-nots, or a nuclear attack by a foreign power, or a natural disaster, like an earthquake.
Two areas you really got to be careful of is your head and your feet, because the hair, you think the Army cuts your hair short because they just don't like people with long hair. They cut your hair short because you can get fallout out of your hair quickly, and you can also get chemical warfare agents out of your hair if it's short.
Jim Jones is Live Free's founder.
Traps, that kind of thing. I think probably we're the most optimistic people around because we're looking at a future where there is a potential for nuclear war, the economy looks bad, there's all kinds of threats, and yet we're saying, okay, so what? We can survive, we're going to try. The rest of the people are either trying to hide from it or they're trying to get somebody else to do something about it, but they're not willing to do anything about it themselves.
Jones says Live Free has about 70 members in the Chicago area, among them machinists, commodity brokers. Jones himself is a troubleshooter for Sherwin-Williams Paints. The Live Free motto, proud and prepared.
I look at the survival moment as just another type of life insurance.
I'm trying to accumulate different things, and I'm trying to, stockpile things that I can barter with, too, that yet I can use later. Salt's cheap, and yet, most people wouldn't have salt, but you could trade for it. 22 shells. Everybody has a 22, and I think that would be a very good barter item.
Someone that comes and trips that spring, trips the string in any direction, it's going to give you a warning that someone's coming.
On this weekend, about 30 members were in Indiana's Tippecanoe River State Park to test their brains and brawn in survival competitions. Best survival device, for instance. Larry Sarson made a foxhole radio.
Now what you do is you listen with your earphones and you try moving this pin around on the razor blade, back and forth, up and down, until you hear a little bit of scratching and you pick up a station. If you don't have a radio, if the batteries have gone bad on the radio you've got a survival situation where there's no electricity, this may be the only thing that you're going to have to tell you what's going on in the outside world.
There are two people with multiple injuries.
They study all facets of survival.
Work on them, start with check out the wounds, find the worst wound, treat that one first.
This is a first aid drill. They also know how to make shelters, store food, and handle guns.
The only time that any of our people would potentially use a gun or any other weapon is in the same case that you would ordinarily pick up your phone and call the police. It's just that under survival conditions, you won't have the phone or the police, so you would have to maybe defend yourself and your family. Now, if you're not willing to do that, I don't know what kind of person you are.
Live Free believes self-sufficiency is the key to survival, because if society falls, there may be no electricity, no food on supermarket shelves, nothing to fall back on, except yourself. They admit they have an image problem. Some people see them as a paramilitary group that could threaten innocent citizens. On the contrary, says Jones, their training is for defensive purposes.
They're not out here for some political motivation or because they want to do in somebody else or hurt somebody else or they want to deny someone else their freedom. They're just out here so they can learn to take care of themselves. What we're concerned about in America is everybody's so dependent on everything. They're dependent on the system. They're used to asking somebody for something and getting it. And what could happen in a disaster is you have the man on the white horse ride in. It could be a demagogue, a politician of any type, and he says, I'll take care of everything. It's happened in Germany, it happened in Russia, and we've seen what happens. And we want everybody to be their own man on the white horse. They can ride in and rescue themselves.
Right down the hill would be sneaky to put an alarm on, you know that?
The main test of the weekend was a 4-mile survival course. Jones led some of the younger members through its challenges.
Bringing people out here that are from the city, bringing them out, we're putting them in a situation and making them test themselves, try themselves out, find out where their weaknesses are. We had some fellows out here that said, geez, you know, I couldn't climb that rope. I got to take some weight off.
Wilderness training is a kind of worst-case scenario, as Jones puts it. It teaches members that if they have to, they can make it on their own in the most primitive conditions.
The survivalist is not owned by the things he owns. And that's one of the things we relate to the people out here. They come out here, they go through some hardships, they help each other, and they go back home and maybe they enjoy those luxuries more. But they know they're not attached to them anymore. They know if it's necessary, the bottom line is that they can go on their own.
As the young survivalists moved through the obstacle course, they were told to be prepared for anything. Anything. Some of this may look like fun, but it's fun with a serious edge to it. The survivalists are thinking the unthinkable and daring to believe they can make it on their own if the unthinkable happens. It's only natural, says Jim Jones, that the rest of us would be uncomfortable with that philosophy.
It'd be like going around the Titanic reminding people that there aren't enough lifeboats. I'm sure that would have been a very unpopular thing to do. But that would probably be what a survivalist would have done. He'd been the most unpopular person on the boat.
If there is no disaster or chaos or World War III, Live Free says its members, at the very least, are ready for more common emergencies. For instance, if a survivalist loses his job, he won't have to worry about where the next meal's coming from because his pantry will be full of food he's stored up.
Although Live Free started in Chicago, it now claims chapters throughout the country with about 700 members in all.
Coming up, young Chicagoans trying to make it in the world of fashion design.